I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that you please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing us to be here again with another chance to do what is right. Father, forgive us of the things that we haven't done right. Father, forgive us of the things that we need to improve on. And we ask that you continue to push us forward and bless us as a community, even through the times when we don't always understand where we are or how we got there. We need you more than ever, and we thank you for all that you have done and all that you're going to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so now on to item 3, motion. Motion finding that the advanced posting and notice requirements of Article 8.1200 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Orange, Texas have been met in relation to all minutes and pending ordinances and resolutions on this agenda, and that the reading of such items be confined to the captions as are agreed upon by the ordinances and resolutions. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. McKenna?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Mr. Chandler?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. On to item 4, citizen comments. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter, whether or not that item is on the agenda. All comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for each speaker, and your comments are appreciated. As the Texas Open Meetings Act does not allow the council to respond to items not listed on the agenda, your comments will be duly noted by the council and forwarded to the appropriate department for prompt consideration. A member of the audience that desires to speak during the City Council's consideration of any specific agenda item is requested to notify city staff prior to the start of the meeting. At this time, the name that I have is Mr. Timmy Odom. Please come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Timmy Odom, I live at 2206 West Sunset Drive, Orange, Texas. I wanted to talk about taxes. I know that Greg Abbott had signed a relief for landowners because we had the revenue bust up. But it seems to me that he gave us, landowners that discount, but then the city or the county raises taxes, so then it just totally neutralizes that relief for landowners. I didn't know if you all were aware of that. It kind of does that. It just kind of neutralizes it. Okay, that's all I got to speak on that. Well, also taxes, how they're being spent. I know we got the budget up coming, but I know that getting in and out of Orange is really good. The roads are wonderful. But to live in Orange, the residential roads are atrocious. I know there's a main road that I live on, West Sunset Drive. It's perfectly fine. But I think it's because we have the golf course at the end of the road. So it's a big thoroughfare. But all the other side roads, the residential roads, trash. Straight up trash. I was going to ask who I send the bill to for my tires. Because they're just totally trashed up. And if you drive down around that area, you're going to see it. Also, holding people accountable for electric company and things like that. I've seen a lot of bent telephone poles or electrical lines. So we need to address that too as well. And that's all I have on that. Mentorship. Now I want to challenge everybody in this room. We have high school students going through college and stuff like that are looking for careers. And it's good of us to mentor them. Especially if they're going into that career field, to mentor them. And you can do it during the summertime. They're out of school. They can come and become a shadow for any one of you all. And teach them how to do the things, the inner workings. Kind of give them a head start when they start their career. They've already got some of that knowledge of how things work. And another thing I wanted you all to kind of, if you could, I know we have the Army Corps of Engineers here. That is a great resource, especially if somebody's going into civil engineering, coming out of high school. And I'm doing it for my son. My son wants to be a civil engineer. He's already in early college. He's a sophomore. He's number 2 in his class. So getting that mentorship under his belt will help him succeed. That'll help any student succeed. And I'll leave with that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council before we close it out? Okay, if not, we will close citizen comments. We will move to item 5, which is the budget workshop. We will call upon Mr. Coons to start the presentation, discuss proposed fiscal year 2025 budget. Mr. Coons.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and everybody else who's in attendance today. Appreciate y'all being here. Kind of like what we've done in years past, I gave y'all the proposed budget last week. We're going to kind of talk about some of the highlights and some of those kind of things. This year, as y'all recall, we started talking about the sales tax back in May and some of the challenges we were having with the sales tax. And also, I'll remind y'all of way back last fall with the announcement that IP closed and Invista was closing. So those are kind of the things that, if you will, put a cloud over our budget as we move forward in fiscal year 2025. Would like to point out, appreciate Allison making our cute slide here. That is the mascot for the Mars State College Orange, whose name is Tilly. Tilly was named after Second Lieutenant William Tilly, who was from Orange and lost his life in World War II in Africa. So again, the budget I gave y'all last week, City of Orange budget, a lot of different funds in that budget. The two we're going to talk about tonight are the general fund and then the water and sewer fund, which is an enterprise fund. So it is a little bit different. But again, the two big ones we're talking about is the general fund and then water and sewer. But regardless of how many funds there are in the budget, each components of the budget, revenues, expenditures, and then reserves. We'll talk about those as we move forward. But before I get too far down the line, if you got any questions or comments, please speak up. Otherwise, I'll be talking the whole night, and we kind of rough on me. So anyway, and when we have to do a budget, what we have to do, staff and I, we have to have our revenues equal to our expenditures. So whatever we're taking in, that's all we can do going out. Okay? So we're not like the federal government, we just spend a bunch more money, but we have to take revenues and reserves. So all of these funds have to have revenues and expenditures being equal, or pretty close to. Because again, as we move forward, some of the things that we are doing, like in revenues, those are things that we are estimating. Obviously, we don't have to silver ball and say, hey, this time next year we're going to have exactly this amount. We try to look at what's going on in the city of Orange, what has been happening in the past few years, what we see in the state and the nation, those kind of things, and what we project might be coming to us. And again, if there's a mistake with numbers, blame it on me, don't blame it on shit. So, and some of this is kind of rounded too, so we get in there like, down to a few cents, trying to make it easier, again, for those of us who aren't CPAs. But again, back to the general fund, business those talk about revenue, nice pie chart there. Again, as in the past, the big three, IDCs, which means industrial district contracts. And I'm going to go ahead and look to the next one. The big three, the industrial district contracts, which also mean industrial district agreements. But those are found under payments in lieu of taxes. Also includes our Chapter 380 agreement that we have with International Paper. Sales tax is found in other taxes in the budget. Also in other taxes in that category, some things like franchise fees and I think alcohol and beverage sales. And then property tax, also called ad valorem tax. So I mentioned that back in May we had some challenges brought to y'all's attention. The challenges we're having this fiscal year with our sales tax collection. Just a real quick review. Something a sales tax eligible item is sold in the city of Orange. That person collects 8.25% sales tax. 6.25% goes to the state. 0.5% that goes to the county. And the city collectively collects 1.5%. But that 1.5%, half of that percent goes to the EDC, and that's a restricted fund. So the numbers that we're taking is only that 9%. So anyway, this time last year, sales tax was booming, crazy. We ended up for last year with a sales tax of $6.2 million. when we had projected 5.7. So we're like, wow, that's going to be great. So around this time of year, we thought, okay, we're not going to estimate for this fiscal year, 2024, that we're going to get 6.2 million. We put down, we were conservative. City of Orange, as you recall, all these officers all these years said we're in good shape. We got there by being conservative. So we just said 5.75, what we projected the sales tax revenue for fiscal year 2024 would be. But I've been saying past several months, we're not getting there. We anticipate, because again, we still got 6 weeks, that we're going to get about 4.7 million. That means we're going to be just a little over $1 million short in sales tax. And again, so for fiscal year 2025, we estimate $4.7 million. There's nothing to tell us that we're going to rebound from that. If we do, it's wonderful. But currently, for the fiscal year 2025, what's in the projected budget is $4.7 million in sales tax. And again, so things that we collect, that's all we can spend. But again, we're low on that. Let me go back there too and say back in this spring when we started noticing the sales tax being down, that's what we told the department heads. Hey, if you don't need to spend it, let's not spend it. Some of these projects were already a go. You can't get that force back in the barn. But some of them were not. So we kind of told everybody, just we don't really need to do it, let's not do it. And so we'll see. We haven't spent all that money. But anyway, back to payments in lieu of taxes. Just a little review. Again, IDA, which is Industrial District Agreement. We usually say that singular, but each of those industries out there on Chemical Road has an independent IDA with the city. They all mirror one another. They're all going to be up again. They're going to expire in 2027, which is fast approaching. But again, you can see typically goes up around 9.5, getting closer to 9, 10.5, 10.8 that we budgeted for this year. That was before we knew Invista and IP were closing down. So again, we anticipate for this next fiscal year 2025, we're going to be short $1.8 million. So quick math, don't be a CPA, 1 million and 1.8 million. That's $2.8 million that we're short right out of the gate. And just keep in mind, we have to renegotiate all those IDAs in 2027. So which gives us the property tax. We're going to take a little bit of time here because a lot of times people say, you're going up on this, you're going down on that. So let's talk about it a little bit. First of all, some of y'all who've been here before have heard this before, but the Orange County Appraisal District, they're the ones who appraises all the property in Orange County. Now, I will say industrial property kind of has a different way of being appraised than our residential property and everybody else's property. But they are the ones who determine the value of that property. One might say it's pure capitalism, though. As more people are interested in Orange County, that makes our property worth more. But again, they appraise the property and they do not set the tax rate. So all the individual entities have to set their own tax rate. And maybe you don't, but there's multiple taxing entities in the county of Orange. Listen right here, they all set their own tax rate. So if you're one of those people who at the end of in January, go down there and write that big fat check for your property taxes, that big number doesn't all go to the city of Orange. Or if you're like me and you got a mortgage and you send in your mortgage payment and hold it in escrow, again, all those taxes, property taxes, don't come to the city of Orange. They go to these various entities. And everybody lives in the school district. So again, most of the folks in the city of Orange either are in West Orange Cove or LCM, and that's the combined tax rate for last year. So let's talk about those values in the city, in the city of Orange. Now, if we look up there on that top row, the past 3 years or so, the market value. So again, not what your tax on, but what they say, oh, your property is worth this. We're going from 1.6 billion, 1.7, 1.9 to 1.98. So that the market value's been going up. But here's kind of the kicker. Taxable values are back there on the left in 2021. 1.1 billion, 1.2 billion, 1.422, and now this year, 1.420. We lost $2 million in property value. Now again, this is going to frustrate a lot of people. The average taxable homestead value. Of course, if you live in your house, you homestead it, so you get deductions off that taxable value. You might be over 65, you might be handicapped to a certain percentage. So everybody has different exemptions. So I can't sit there and say, you get this and you get that. But again, they take the average value. So not saying everybody, obviously, but back in 21, there's $105,000 for the average taxable homestead in the city of Orange. Moved up to 115 to 132. Now this year, even though we lost $2 million in property value, taxable property value, the average homestead value went up. So it went up almost $4,000. And we all know I think we have 8,000 water and sewer accounts. So if we say we have 8,000 residential properties, some are worth more, some are less. Some went up, some went down. So in the budget for ad valorem taxes, which in this case will include if you pay your taxes, and then you pay your taxes late, which includes contingent interest, we anticipate we're going to collect $9.8 billion. Now, that's not, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Yes, that is based on a property tax rate that is higher than 2024, so going into 2025. But again, we all kind of like to see this one. What does the average homeowner pay in taxes to the city of Orange? Back in 23, we look at two from the bottom, paid about $906. And then last year, this current fiscal year, $1,008. And we're proposing, with a change in the tax rate, it's going to be $1,087.24. So again, that bottom row, we're moving from per month. Just quick math, that number divided by 12. Back in 23, the average person, homeowner, paid $75 and $84, and now we're proposing $90.60. And again, I always say that usual thing, how much does your cell phone cost you per month? I don't like to pay anything, I don't like to pay taxes either, but what do you get for that? What do you get for your $90.60 a month? Before we go into that, I'm sorry, any questions? So, let's talk about expenditures. And we're going to get to that where we get what here in just a second. But, so what, in this budget, we did cut back. We cut back a little over $2 million. So some of the things that we like to do in the past few years, again, like we said in the spring to the department heads, you got to cut back. It's difficult once you kind of, like I said, let that horse out of the barn, or you release that helium glue to roll some of this stuff back. Some things we cannot roll back. Entergy is going to charge us a certain amount of money to sure we can turn the lights off. If we have an election, though, that's going to cost us a certain amount of money. So there's a lot of things we really don't have any control over. And again, there's our expenditures. Yep, the big one is personnel. And you're going to see here in a minute that capital outlay doesn't even rank 1% in this budget. And there it is by numbers. So again, what does the homeowner get for all that? So again, I'll let you read that. What's not in there is water and sewer, because again, that is, as I mentioned before, that's its own enterprise fund, and we'll talk about that separately here in just a minute. So we're just going to start. Many of you have seen this before, but our police department, they got 7 people out there on patrol 24 hours a day. For this year, because it's a leap year, it's 366 days a year. And so anyway, if those folks weren't out there, do you think that the county's going to be able to pick them up at zero cost to their budget? Fire department, we have 3 stations. We are the only professional fire department in Orange County. Also, we've got fire marshal, and all of our firefighters are EMTs. The library, I don't know how many of y'all got to go to the escape room that we just had. I didn't get to go because working on the budget the whole time, but I think a lot of our folks enjoy doing that, and we didn't charge anybody for that. But lots of books, all kind of other good things. I know some of you have participated in some various programs that the library has been able to do over the past several months of this year, and they've done it for a long time. Parks and Recs, we got a lot of city parks. Recently, the Code Rec areas got a lot of nice publicity. We got Riverside Pavilion, Recreation Center. So altogether, we have 17 city parks plus some other things that are not in city parks, like the Rec Center. Planning, community development. We like the fact that we can send mowers out there to mow some of these untended lots that are in gross violation of our ordinance, substandard structures, and also what they do as we move forward. When developers come in, we hold them to a certain code so that these subdivisions are one in a place that fits into our city as a whole, and then also that they're building these buildings, whether it's residential or commercial, to a standard that is safe for the public and good for us. Streets and drainage. Again, we've got Cooper's Gully Pump Station, and also they maintain the drainage districts and the streets. Any questions about that so far? Rolling along. So, general fund. Again, typically we have capital outlay. That's something that's a one-time purchase. But also in this, we're going to show you some of these notable expenditures that might be a little bit more than the everyday expenditure. First, what we want to try to get, and we've been talking to the same folks who do our website, is what I call it see, click, fix. It might be called something else now. Once we get it up and going, you can look on your phone, you see the down street sign that you can report it in right from your phone, and those kind of things. I mentioned the library, where they're asking $8,000 for books. Typically, they ask for 20, but again, we got to cut it back. We just don't have the funds this year. You'll notice under animal control, lease, finance a new truck. One of the things that we've started this year, we think we weren't as happy with the financing and the service with Enterprise Fleet Management, so we're going to try to do a little something different. We're going to work on getting our own financing and go out and get our own vehicles. So you'll see that lease finance term up there. So obviously at $12,000, we're not buying a new truck, and that's the notes basically for the year. And again, lease 4 new vehicles. That's one thing about patrol. They're out there all the time patrolling, so I don't get dirty looks from the 2 police officers behind them. They're kind of rough on vehicles, but they're rolling all the time. Again, 366 days this year. And then again, we did have to cut back on our demolitions, mowing, those types of things from years in recent past. And then again, the Meals on Wheels building, that's Miss Bellfield's Community Center. We are buying them. That's one of the things we do for them. We help them out on those kind of things. And then we're going to get a new dump truck for our streets and drainage folks. So that's those kind of things. That's all there is this year. We've had to cut back. And I will say, for the employees, I got in the proposed budget 2% across the board raise for all the employees. We're going to talk about here in a minute how we're going to try to make some of that up. But, one of the things I've said for months now, back when we had that sales tax meeting, one of my main priorities is everybody who's with us, here this summer, that they're going to be with us next summer if they want to be. And there's nothing in there about, any kind of laying folks off or anything like that. But also that we're not adding any new positions, that we're not regrading any positions. And also, as a note, we are currently negotiating with the Police Association and the Fire Association. Obviously, those are 2 separate unions, but we're negotiating with them for 2 CBAs. So, let's talk about our insurance for the employees, because this is where something that's going to we propose a change and how we're going to try to get that 2% paid up. First of all, some good news with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, which we've had that for a few years now, and it's, if you can just imagine, I do, and the employees do, they don't like to change, insurance companies that way. It's always Blue Cross Blue Shield, your doctor's in network, and all those kind of good things. We did get a 4.3% decrease, and also we're going to talk about this shift that I propose in the dependent contributions. That with a slight decrease and that slight shift, we're going to save $183,000 in this proposed budget. As we move forward, let me just throw out some terms with you. Probably some of y'all may be familiar with these terms. But one, employee only means exactly what that is. If you're a single person, you work for us, or none of your dependents, maybe they're on your spouse or somebody else's insurance policy, but EO employee only, that's just you. We'll continue to pay 100% of our employees' medical insurance at the $3,000 deductible. We offer $3,000, $2,000, $1,000 deductibles. So we have a census, the number of employees. We may not have 210 employees today, but when I took this snapshot, 74 of our employees are employee only. Then obviously employee with children, 27, employee with spouse, 36, and employee with family, 33. A couple things to note. This says employee with children or employee with family. You can have as many children, still in that same classification. I don't think so far we've had employee with spouses. So anyway, but again, so whether you have one child or multiple children, still in that same classification. I will say, note with employee only, those 74 people who are employee only, and I don't know their marital status, but what they all came Monday and said, we all got married over the weekend, and we are now employed with family. We're still on the hook to provide our contributions for that elevated insurance premium. So again, back to what we are proposing, the city pays 100% of the employee's health insurance premium at the $3,000 level. If the employee wants, they can buy down to the $2,000 or to the $1,000. And also currently, the city pays 90% of the employee's dependent coverage, regardless of that deductible level, commonly called the 90-10 split. So if you ever hear us say 90-10 split, that's what that means. So what we propose to maintain that 90-10 contribution ratio at the $3,000 level for the dependent coverage. But then, as we go to the 2,000 and 1,000, proposing that we shift that from 90-10 to 85-15 and 80-20. And again, if the employee wants to provide additional coverage, they can do that. And again, that's going to save us a little over $183,000. So what does that look like? Again, so EC is employee children, ES employee spouse, employee with family. So per month, you can see what those that employee would have to pay for those. Any questions about those? Talk about our reserves. And again, a couple of notes. When we make a budget, every year when we make a budget, we make the budget off of the revenue, what we anticipate we're going to get, and that's what we spend. So let's keep in mind a couple of things. Those IDAs set to expire in 2027. That's the last year we're going to have it. Currently, we get about $8.9 million. If our tax rate goes up or down, those IDAs, they pay 93% of that tax rate. So just for instance, as that goes down, whatever their property's worth is multiplied by a lower number. Also, we're in the middle of hurricane season. People say, what's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst has happened before. What was it, 2020? When 2 hurricanes in about a month hit Lake Charles. Just a couple of weeks ago or so, that tropical storm or hurricane hit Galveston on up there. I'm kind of scared. I didn't realize that was as bad as it was, is we just got a bunch of rain showers. Now, a little bit of those reserve funds can be used when that falls. So, currently, we've projected our operating expenditures will be about $27 million. So, we anticipate at the end of 24, we're having a little over 17 million. And again, you look at budget, we anticipate at the end of 25 having a little over 17 million. Those numbers are pretty close because we have a balanced budget. Let's kind of delve in there a little bit deeper. You know, our goal to me is to have 50% of our operating expenditures in reserve. So if we look back in 21, you know, that target of having 50%, was about 14 million, and we had some on the side, 2.4 million. You also recall the last couple of years, I said, let's try to pay that down some, or spend that down, some of that unassigned amount. And we did some things like buying some vehicles and those kind of things. I don't call out all the different items that we did try to spend it down. Now on this budget, what we did, we set aside, and it's listed in your budget, $475,000 set aside for street rehabilitation. As you can recall, this year, whether it was in the spring or summer, you know, we had in this 24 budget, we had $400,000 for street rehabilitation. And we had picked some streets out that were considered the worst streets in the city of Orange. We went out for bids, and I think the bids were just under $500,000. So we couldn't even do those couple of streets that we were hoping to do. So what we're saying is, let's take some of this out of capital outlay and see if we can get something done. Again, we expect, you know, right before I got here, there was on that bond, I think $4 million. I can't remember how much, but we could use $47 million to get some of these streets done. That number could just be as high as we think 475. That might allow us to try to do something while still trying to maintain our levels of reserves, be prepared for emergencies. You know, every time, I know Mayor and I talk about this, it seems like every time we have one emergency, the next year there's some other kind of crazy thing. We just don't know what's coming around again. Any questions about that? Ms. Patty?
So the thing is, in terms of reserve funds, you know, the things that we've already discussed so far, you'll see some things that are in this budget. And when I had meetings with Mr. Coonston and Ms. Zito, you know, of course, in our city, you immediately start to hear the things that are coming up out of the woodwork, and it's, well, you can't afford this, why are you hiring new people? That's why there are no new hires going to take place. The only hires that will happen is if, I'll use Ms. Zito, let's say something happens in Ms. Zito's department and this person quits, that job was already there, so that is a replacement in kind. I was immediately hit with stuff like that. Well, if you can't afford this, why are you hiring new people? As you can see, we've gotten rid of that rumor. That will not be taking place. There will be no regrading. When we asked for the land gap to be cut from these budgets, it was for you to understand that I was not asking of you to do something without making sure we're getting rid of all the cream from the top. Now, I know some are still going to go find some cream, and when we have to get to that and we have to address it, then we will. This is a situation that we are in my 10 years of being here, we've never been in. I've always been honest with you. I've always been upfront with you. I feel that this council has always been honest and upfront with you. If this is a year where we have to step back and say, this is the year where we hold tight. There's times been in my household, I've had to tell my wife and kids, it's not going to be like it was last month. It's not going to be like Christmas last year. If we're in a situation like that, I want you to understand that there's nobody up here that's trying to take anything out of your mouth, out of your pockets, or out of your family's health insurance, or anything like that. Until we can figure out or get the community to get back behind us. If we can get the international paper sold, if we can get Invista, which there are reports now that there could be some continued operation, those monies will return to us. We just got hit with a very inclement situation. And so we're going to try to tread water and stay afloat until we see something change. If nothing does change, we'll have to continue to make some more changes in the end. But I wanted you to hear from me because I feel like I've never lied to you. I let you come to my house. I let you walk up on my porch. I let you call my phone. I've always been honest with you. We are not here to screw you. We are not here to hurt you. We're just trying to figure this all out together. And that's where we are.
Yeah, and I like kind of like that what you're saying. You know, I use that a little bit where hopefully, and again, hope's not a method, but we're saying it's the end of the month. You know, the paycheck's kind of down at the end of the month. We got to wait till payday. Are we broke? Certainly not. But again, if it's at the end of the month, you don't go out there and say, "Hey, we're all going to go out and to the lecture and go out and eat." Hold onto your money and wait. I'll be honest, because again, follow the mayor's lead. Say, let's be honest. This time next year, and all these numbers are still like this. Then we're having more difficult conversation. So anyway, on to the next one. Water and sewer. It's an enterprise fund. It's supposed to pay for itself. So again, though, every budget has revenues, expenditures, and reserves. And again, for revenue, you only get from user fees. You don't get property tax. And again, one of the challenges, like I mentioned last year, if a water line breaks in a neighborhood with $1 million mentions, it costs just as much to fix as it does into a house with more modest means. So all that costs the same to fix. So again, how do we get it? You get a utility bill, and you're going to see all these things on there: water, sewer, sanitation, in this case, waste management, street sweeper, and there is sales tax on waste management and the street sweeper. I know that's very small. That's my water. That's mine. So you usually get something like that, and if you're like me, you just look for the bottom line. Hey, that's how much I have to pay. So what do you have to pay? At a minimum, again, it's the base bill or the minimum. And this is for this year. There's going to be a slight bump on this. So for this year, you're supposed to sign up for utilities if you live in Orange. And say you're out, again, you go to wherever for a month. So boom, it's just the base. You can pay a little bit for water, sewer, street sweeper, waste management. We have a contract with waste management, so they set those prices, and then we get a sales tax. So the base, $61.18. That's the minimum that you're going to pay. So you've already seen it. This is what I paid last month. Again, $120. I use as much water as I want. I was in the desert for 2 years, so I'm just going to use all the water in the shower, all I want to do. I'll pay for it. But, so again, to be transparent, like we said, we have a contract with Waste Management. We are in the second year of we're entering the second year of a 5-year contract with them. Prior to that, they would come to us and say, hey, the consumer price index is this, fuel costs are these, and we get these numbers that we never knew what they're going to be until we started talking to them, and they were more than 6.5%. So what we negotiate with them each year for 5 years is going to be 6.5%. So what does that mean? It's $2. And also we're proposing on water only an increase of 2%. What does that mean? It's a quarter on the monthly base, and for additional water, 1,000 gallons of water, it's an additional 3 cents. So that minimum base bill is going from $61.18 to $63.57. I think that's for some reason I think that's $1.79. And what do you get for the water and sewer fund? Again, I'll let you read those. There's that 8,000 connections. I'm telling you, for long-term sustainability of the city of Orange and for growth in the city of Orange, we need water and sewer. We need better water and sewer. We need a new wastewater treatment plant. That's $100 million, $200 million. So we can't get there from here right now. So, but as we go through some of these numbers, we could get stupid numbers in here, and we could use them up. If you recall the ARPA funds, we got $8 million about 3 years ago. We used them up like that. It was all in the water and sewer. $8 million just doesn't go as far as it used to. But again, what do you get? We got 3 grapple trucks. Now, one of the secondary negative effects when IP closed, we used to take our green debris, so limbs, we would take that to IP and they would take that for free. They would do their thing with it. They don't do, obviously they closed down, so we had to find another source, and that, so $75 a load. We do like 20 or 30 loads a week. They didn't put James Lawrence in the spot, but he did put some budget numbers in there. I think like $75,000, and that's in the budget. So, but again, that's an additional charge that we didn't have last year. Waste management, it was doing a good job for me. You get your cart out there, you pick up 2 bulk items. I will say at Christmas time, I see in my neighborhood there's all kind of trash out there. I ain't picking it all up. But if you want to, you can come down. That's the right way of going. If you have extra, you come down and pay $1.50 for a sticker, and they'll give you that. Just don't put any hazardous waste in any of that kind of stuff. So there's the revenue for water and sewer, $8.9 million. Look at that, expenditures, $8.9 million. That is not the same figure down there. The very end is a little different. What do we get for capital outlay? Again, this is back to the normal lift stations. We got 60 lift stations. Is that right? 60. And we talked about some of those recently. Remember old Highway 90? Had some challenges with that. We always have challenges with lift stations. I'm not saying all 60 of them. But that $150,000, we could use $1.5 million and we'd still have needs that are unmet. And you're going to get this great amount of high pressure sewage. Sounds pretty good. But then we are going to ask out of the reserve fund, we got to get that Sunset Park project done. So we have it in the budget, and we're going to ask for $755,000 to get that wrapped up. Water operations, they're going to get this thing too. But then normal water line repairs, $150,000. I would mirror what I just said about over there on the other side, on that other slide. We could use $1.5 million out of that. They would use it. And radio read meters, $150,000. Every year we try to do a few. Again, we could use just as much money as you want to throw at a meter reader to get that. Get some new meters. Tongue tied. So the reserve fund, what does that look like? Again, it's going to be okay. Questions, comments about the super? Kind of wrapping up here. So on September 3rd, we will have a public hearing on the budget and the tax rate. So, for this current year, fiscal year 2024, our tax rate is 0.7595 per $100 evaluation. Because in the budget, proposed tax rate for 2025 is an increase of 0.797 for $100 evaluation. That's an increase of 0.0375. So, any questions?
And for the average or median income, it was about $6 a month.
Right.
Based on 164 something.
84. Looking there. Flip back inside the 13. Currently, the average home owner in Orange pays $84.05 a month. This, they pay $90.60. That's a $6.55 increase. Again, house value more than 136, you're going to pay more if it's less. Any questions or comments?
Oh, yeah, are you ready?
That's it.
Okay.
Done.
All right. So on the general fund, when we first got started, I just want to go back over this one more time. When we're talking about the MIS, Department of Animal Control, Library, Police, Fire, these are the things that you said that they're requesting. So these are already in the new budget. So they were awarded these requests.
Put all those in there.
Okay. Because I know that we asked them to cut a significant amount, but I'm happy But I also want to talk publicly. So let's say, for instance, all of a sudden we get our next 2 or 3 checks from property sales tax, and all of a sudden it flips the other way around. Adjustments can be made, right?
Yes, and what I would suggest, though, again, so specifically on sales tax, because we've had 9 months, 10 months, whatever it was, of sales tax flat or down. So when it's good times, I say a month or 2, it's not a trend. So say September the 10th, which is when we should get the next sales tax report. If that's a good month, that's not a trend yet. But again, I think maybe your point is, say
we see
the
change.
spring, and it's starting to go back up. That okay, things are coming back up, and we get good news from our industrial district partners. Things are going better. Yes, the one-time kind of deal, like hey, go out and buy 2 new patrol vehicles. Those one-time purchases, yes.
That's what I was going to ask, if we could have a list that was set to the side from all these departments for the things that they did not ask for. Like if you had a list, I'm sure that we, but I'd like to have that available to where if we did see a turnaround, then we go back and show them our commitment by saying, you asked for it, we saw an increase, we got it. Not just, oh, well, you'll be okay. Like I want them, like I said, I want them to hear from us that we're going to do everything we can. I also think that this is the time for us as a community and for us as council members to push the agenda of, once again, I've already spoken with IDA and the Chamber of Commerce. We have to get another round of shopping local and getting people to get more involved in that. And I made a decision just the other day. I know it sounds crazy, but I was about to stop and give my kids something to drink. And I was like, let me wait until I get into the Orange city limits, just to make sure, like I'm putting everything I can back into our community. That's what makes the difference. Those little things like that add up. So that's all I really had. I don't know if any, Mr. McKinley, you have anything? Mr. Child?
Thank you for the presentation. It was very good.
Self-explanatory, yeah.
Very thorough, thank you. No, the only thing is, Mike and I had a conversation too. Another thing about shopping in Orange, apparently if you order your groceries from a store that's not in Orange, like maybe the Walmart in West Orange, but you live in the city of Orange, that sales tax goes to Orange, city of Orange.
That's what I've been told.
Oh, really?
But now too, and we talked about this in the past. So there's of course, everybody says whatever 123 Main Street, Orange, Texas, and that is a mailing address. So we constantly, not just us, but the other entities in the Orange County, they get reviewed and make sure that sales tax is going to the correct place. So even though it's not on what we report to you in the more detailed report, we always see like there's an adjustment made. So sometimes we gain, and sometimes we lose when people do a BS. From what I understand, right, Cheryl? You order online, it's supposed to come.
My groceries. It'll make a difference. Let's do it.
Mr. Birch? Mr. Chandler? Ms. Salter? Okay. Anyone out there?
So we're investing in projects like the boat thing, I think. Are we having more revenue come from that? Since we invested a lot of money into it. I know we had speedboat racing and things like that, but that is a good source of revenue if we can bump that up. Making more venues come and do that kind of thing. You're going to bring that commerce in here. So I know we have a couple of events, but maybe pushing that a little more too is going to bring in some more revenue.
Well, it's to be honest with you, so we've actually made cuts in that department because it's actually, just to be totally transparent with you, it's actually more. It costs us more. So what we did was we asked staff to look at which events were charging us because we do a lot of. Like employees are working all weekend long, have all this going on. Well, then a lot of it, the money from that came from different budgets, EDC or whatever. And what was happening was we were seeing ourselves putting out like $30,000, $40,000 in expenditures for them to do a jet ski race, and then there may be 30 people that showed up. And so that's one of the things that, that's why I want people to ask questions so that you can understand. We didn't just ask for department heads to make cuts. We also asked even the events department, like, what is it that's hurting us? And so we will make cuts in those departments and in events as well. So like the jet skis, some of the boat races, we've actually are probably going to decline those until we can see what we can do differently, because it was costing us like 30, 40 grand sometimes for the weekend versus, 60 people coming out. If it was 60, maybe 20. So, and I understand, I thought at that time that if we made more events, it would bring more people. Just to be, it's sad to say, I think that we brought so much that people are like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. Like, we didn't have anything, they cried about it. Now we have so much, they're like, oh, I'm not going, I'm tired, it's hot, whatever. So we're going to try to make some cuts there too. But thank you for that suggestion. Anyone else? I know we got some other department heads or teammates in here. Anyone have a question or comment?
So we'll say for the mayor and council, if y'all have questions during the week, pick up the phone, stop by, something, share a line, try to explain them as best we can.
Well, it's very self-explanatory. I did a great job. Great job.
All right, I guess if there's no other questions or comments, one more time, that's it? Okay. If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.